All right, you guys ready? Oh, sign in. Yeah, everyone sign in. All right, we're going to get started. My name's Kimberly Evers. I'm with the Parks and Rec Commission. Everyone here, and it's September 16th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. And I'm calling this meeting to order. All right, item number 2, Mr. Fisher. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, let the record show all commissioners are currently present except Chair Ross Ritter.
Thank you. And for those that are able, please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, thank you. So item number 4, Mr. Fisher, I don't believe we have any special presentations or proclamations.
There are none tonight.
All right, thank you. And then moving on to item number 5, oral communications. Do we have any speakers this evening?
Yes, so we have 2 speakers, starting with Molly H., and then she'll be followed by Ellen Burr.
Hi, I have a presentation. Clicker. Okay. Okay, next slide. Good evening, Molly Hitlian, District 2. At the past Park and Recreation location-specific field trip on 8/7, I wanted to give some feedback. I had sent some detailed feedback to the 2 Daves, as I call them, Dave Knopp and Dave Norgard. And I wanted to also share with the commission that I went to the field trip and I felt I was playing catch-up. And I didn't feel very welcome at first, and I stuck with you guys for almost 6 hours of field trip chasing one location to the next. So for the upcoming Parks and Rec field trip, I have some recommendations to ensure public participation and more scheduling notice. So I see the upcoming one this week. It's in the afternoon, which was one of my suggestions to the 2 Daves, that we have it at later in the afternoon and a more condensed time. And I'd like to ask that you wait for people at each location. I was arriving maybe just minutes after everyone, and half the conversation was gone. And my other recommendation was to have one park location maybe a month or every other week, or publish it for a month that each week you're going to go to a different park. So that way people can meet you at the park, not meet at the city and then traipse around, because I think a lot of people do want to give you feedback on the various parks. I had never seen Glen Park until the August 7th. So next slide. So to Glen Park, I know it's part of your tour this week, and I know it's about your adult equipment, exercise equipment, but I wanted to highlight that I had done my own tour of Glen Park with a resident neighbor, and there's a dangerous curb. I don't know what that street is. It's not ADA compliant. There's no caution yellow painting. There's no unloading area for people, and that's an entrance, and people tend to park right there because it doesn't say no parking. Next slide. So looking at it from the other perspective, it's a trip hazard. Again, not ADA compliant, and should be remediated for all access. So as you're looking at Glen Park this week, I wanted to highlight beyond the exercise equipment, and I know you're working towards improved walkways or whatever, but I think there's some immediate needs that should happen and be considered, such as having a reserved area painted white for loading and unloading, and no parking for after hours. So, or during park hours, I should say. Thank you.
Good evening, Commission. I think part of my reason for being here is not here tonight because that last meeting was a horrible embarrassment to the Commission, to the chair, to the city. It just went haywire after we got back into the second part of the SURF discussion. People are listening and watching at home, and many more people try and listen and watch later at their convenience. But if you tried to listen to that after the SURF meeting, it was outrageous. And a lot of that is responsibility of the chair to run the meeting in an orderly fashion. Secondly, I am concerned about agenda items. You had a meeting on 6/17 when you were informed that there would be special assignment from the city council regarding skateboarding, surfing, and volleyball. And so on 6/17, a subcommittee was formed, and I don't know how many times it was able to meet, but two of the main items were already on the agenda, the next real meeting you had last week. So that is totally cart before the horse, or not even, there wasn't even a horse. You deserve better than that. I don't know how many meetings there were, but the idea that you're going to make decisions on stuff without having the input of the committee who is given that assignment is absurd. And I don't know who's in charge of making the agenda up, but neither one of those items should have been on there until you had had a meeting to hear from your subcommittees. I don't know what else I can say about that, other than that also some of that information was redundant or ridiculous, because it was obvious no one was having a full-on conversation with the skater bros about what was going on in the various different parks already around the city. So somebody needs to get their act together. Thank you.
Any other?
And that concludes oral communications.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you for our speakers. Moving on to item number 6. Any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes to the posted agenda.
All right, thank you. And then moving on to item number 7. Looks like we have our minutes from our August meeting. I think everyone was present. So is there any changes, feedback? Or are we good to move forward? Okay. A motion
Motion to approve?
and a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Okay, the motion passes with Chair Ritter absent.
Great, thank you. All right, moving into our action items. So we're going to start with item 8A, and I believe I'm going to first turn it over to staff to kick this one off. Thank you.
Good evening, Vice Chair Evers, Parks and Recreation Commissioners, and members of the public. We are here tonight to continue our discussion from last month's commission meeting about the commercial surf permit process. And as previously mentioned, updates to the current surf permit process are needed due to several changes over the past few years. The update is aimed to ensure the process aligns properly with the city's jurisdiction. Last month, we presented a map outlining the site boundaries for your review. And since then, city staff have met with ad hoc committee for further discussion. We've also reached out to all the commercial surf permit holders who operated in summer 2025 to gather additional feedback. Furthermore, staff has contacted California State Parks to seek clarification regarding the southern jurisdictional boundary at Swami's Beach. So based on these discussions and feedback, staff recommends approving the commercial surf permit holders who operated in summer 2025 continue operating for summer 2026. And the revised draft map, surf map, has been included in the staff report and is displayed on the screen for your review. And we are currently waiting for final word from California State Parks regarding that boundary. Sure. So the map that we displayed at last month's meeting, is included here. We divided it up into 4 sections so it's easily viewed on the screen. And this starting at the north end of Grandview, down to Beacons. And then we're going to included Beacons here, so we have the 2 surf schools here at Beacons, going down to Stone Steps. And then we have a camp at Stone Steps and 3 commercial camps at Moonlight Beach, Junior Guards, the city surf camps. And as we go south of the D Street stairs, we have a camp at the E Street location and a potential site south of that. And then based on our new boundary lines, we have 2 operators at Swami's.
Great, thank you. Before moving forward, can I just get some procedural advice? I know we have a presentation or some content from the ad hoc. Should we start with that or jump into public comment?
So working together, and I appreciate this, I think that to give the public a chance so that they can see and make comments, my recommendation would be to have the ad hoc give their presentation. Staff has some questions or more information to share as part of that ad hoc presentation. And then that way, if the public wishes to speak to everything, they've seen it all. And then public speaking, and then back to the commission for follow-up questions and
Right.
follow-through.
Okay, thank you for that feedback. Just checking with the commission, are you guys good with that approach, starting with the ad hoc presentation? Okay, all right. So I'm going to turn it over to the ad hoc. Thank you.
Do you want me to talk, George? Okay, please. All right, so we can go to the next slide. So, as one of the public speakers spoke earlier, we were originally chartered in June to put together an overview of surfing, skate, and volleyball. This presentation here is to date what we've done in our investigation and current recommendations that we have. First off, for those of you who may not be aware, this slide presents kind of the overview at a very high level what we have in terms of surfing for the city. We have a lot of city programs, which we won't be going into, a number of surf festivals, et cetera, but we're going to be talking about the private surf camps that get permits during the summer to run lessons. Next slide, please. To provide a little clarity of what we've been doing the last couple of months, we met with Parks and Rec staff twice to discuss the processes, locations, and challenges in 2025. We have met with some of the surf school owners to collect feedback. On the August commission meeting, a number of the surf school owners were here to talk about their feedback again. And we did review city programming and we reviewed the 2025 and 2023 permit RFQ documents that the city gives out for possible businesses to apply for a permit with. Next slide. So going to the private surf schools, as I said earlier, permits are only required during the summertime and not required during other parts of the year. I think this was mentioned by staff last time. The city receives $5 per camper per day. Currently, weekend lessons are not allowed. And marine safety designates which locations can be used for surf camps based off of a number of factors. And the total number of participants is capped in around the mid-200s. I've seen a few different numbers, but it's around the mid-200s. And to ensure that we don't have illegal operators, the camps display their permits on their canopies, so it's easy for city enforcement to see who's there operating legally. Next slide, please.
Before we go, can I
Of course.
add? Thank you. You guys did a fantastic job. Thank you so much for all the effort you've put into this, and appreciate it. Being a draft, there is some communication back and forth and some things we just want to share as we go.
Sure.
So weekend lessons are allowed. The problem is the Muni code is not specific to it, and as part of this process, we want to correct the code also to make sure that weekend lessons that have been occurring are just spelled out in the code.
Okay.
So for one, and then We're good. Well, I'm sorry. We have more. So any place where it's marine safety designates, it's marine safety with Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Arts, just because we have spent a lot of time with marine safety in the last couple of weeks going through it, and we always do when it comes to MAP. It's a conversation definitely between the departments. But
Okay.
thank you.
Though with the permits themselves that they receive during the summers, those permits, because of municipal code, don't allow them to do weekend lessons as a part of their permit, correct?
No, the permits do allow it.
The permit allows it, but the municipal code does not.
The municipal code's not clear. That's where we want to make sure
that's fine. That's, yeah, no problem. Next slide, please. So for our understanding of the 2025 permitting process, as also your staff just presented earlier, marine safety, in consultation with Parks and Recreation staff, redefined some site locations and participant caps due to changes in understanding of city-state boundaries, liability concerns, other things. But potentially impacting some of the existing operators where they were used to working. We reviewed the new RFQ format because there was some feedback on that at the last Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. The questions were pretty similar, not a lot of changes, different formats, so there was a little bit less flexibility to customize responses. And the RFQ is an up to 2-year agreement with reviewers, including representatives from Marine Safety, Risk, and Parks and Recreation staff. Any comments on that? Or is that, did I capture that okay?
No, like I said, great job.
I have
Yeah.
a quick question on that. So all permits are renewed every 2 years, and then 2 years goes by, and then all permits are renewed again? Or are they not staggered at all?
The history has been, and please correct me if I'm wrong, it's been an RFQ process every 2 years with a 1 year and a 1 year follow through. And then the issues with this last year, and we're going to get, I guess, more into that, was a 1 year, and then we would evaluate, and that's where we've gotten to. And we will be going back to City Council from here.
Yeah. So my understanding was as long as you were in good standing, you could be extended, but you had to be in good standing. And so for this particular season that just ended, the city received more applications than sites were available, which led to a little bit of confusion and some existing businesses potentially denied a permit while a new business was given one, given to policies were not clear on how if there's any priority given to an existing business. But at City Council direction, all qualified businesses were accommodated, and Parks and Rec staffs were going to go back and look at it and see what we need to do to revise the process. And so 1 year test with 13 sites, and 9 of the 13 that were given permits ran lessons during the summer. Not everybody who got a permit actually operated. Any feedback on that? No? Okay, great. Thank you. Next slide. So this slide represents conversations we had with the surf school operators and that made themselves available to talk with us. From a perspective of running their business, they felt that they believe that 1 year is too short to be able to run a sustainable business without worrying about losing your spot to another business. And there was some feedback that other cities offer longer periods. And so the takeaway was that they want to ensure that if they're in good standing, they can continue to operate and then be able to invest in equipment and staff and marketing that they need. Some of the caps on the schools are too low to be viable, recommending 20 students as a starting point. 12 is too small for most, and 36 is too large because of safety issues in the water. They want to be able to offer private small group lessons on weekends, primarily mornings. Currently not allowed, but I understand the clarification that it's just unclear. And ensure that enforcement of illegal operators is occurring consistently. And there have been some city programs that have intruded into their permitted areas, and then concern over the new locations, and would just like to have a little more understanding and ability to provide input to the process.
I've got a question on that. So The max number of 12, is that a new policy and it was 20, or was that an existing policy?
Some sites were taken down to 12 when they moved some of the sites around, and so they made decisions on this site can only accommodate this amount of people.
But previous years, they were all 20?
They weren't all, I don't know if they were all 20. The 20 was what came up as a number in discussion with the surf schools. We said, hey, what would be something that makes your business viable? And they said around 20.
Thank you.
Just to clarify that piece, I think that's an important piece. Was that those numbers due to marine safety guidance?
So, sorry, not that I don't know the answer. I'm just trying to give the best, most accurate. So, sites were not any specific number across the board. Some locations in some of the beaches have smaller areas to surf. So, when you're going from 8 sites previously to when we started out 13, cutting back some of those sites from say 36 to 30, 36 to 32, there were changes made across the board. And then to this year going forward, we have 9 operators that wish to operate that operated this year. We went back and worked with marine safety to how many can we do, try to max out as many as we can. We also had 9 conversations. We had a conversation with each of the operators also. Those were by phone. And conversations about what'd you do this year, what do you need, and trying to make as many as we can work in the sites that they want to be in versus where we could fit them. So I don't know if that makes sense. We did our best to work with them. We're not stuck on 12. Some sites are. Some sites are definitely 12 based on like Beacons has a recommendation of 2 surf groups, 12 each. So there's 24 in that beach area, which is a small area. I hope I'm doing a good job answering the question. But yeah, so there's no specific number for each site across the board.
Sorry, is there any further clarification needed on that?
No, thank you.
Okay, next slide, please. We went and did a little bit of analysis just to look at what do other cities do so that we could get an idea of, what in comparison. There's a few locations here. Generally, permits are a little bit longer. Like Del Mar is 3 with an option for 2 as long as 2 additional as long as you're in good standing. Carlsbad is similar. City of San Diego is 1 year, but looking through their processes, it seemed like as long as you were operating correctly, didn't have any issues, you were getting priority for renewing for the following year. So you didn't actually, it seemed like you didn't actually have to write a complete RFQ each time. It was more our compliance documentation, but I didn't dig down to that level to answer that, to know that 100%. So one of the things that had come up in the commission meeting was that the RFQ was different. And the RFQ format was different, but the questions were pretty similar. So I think for what came out, though, as looking at them, is that minimum standards and rubrics and points per every individual question as you're being totaled up were not clearly defined. And so from the perspective of making sure that the process is very objective, that there should be clear, this is a minimum requirement for, this question, like in terms of what's your safety policy, and then so the applicants know exactly how they're going to be graded and can kind of get a sense for how they're doing against it. And I think it also protects the reviewers that, we followed a format that says, this is the rubric for how we review it. And there doesn't appear to be a provision to give an existing business owner confidence they will be able to continue if they stay in good standing. That may have been the operational process up to then. I'm not saying that it wasn't, but it's not. There's no documentation that we were able to find that said that. Any comments from staff on that?
No, I think we're good.
Okay, thank you. So last slide, I believe. So looking at this, our recommendation based off of what we know to date is that businesses that have permits this year should be granted, could be continued for 2026, and that was part of the recommendation from Parks and Rec staff earlier. I think that there should be some discussion of looking at what are the size caps for the various locations and allow some flexibility with, how can they go up in certain sites with the lower number of operators, and what can we do to make sure that they have enough to be able to successfully run the business. Enabling weekend lessons for 2026 and amending the codes or ordinances accordingly to reflect that, already brought up. And I believe that looking at the revised marine safety maps, maybe providing of some feedback mechanism for the surf operators, if that doesn't already exist, give them the opportunity to participate in how that those maps get set. And then for the longer term, for future permits, we should consider looking at increasing the permit validity time to be more aligned with neighboring cities. I think right now, 3 years seems reasonable as long as you're in good standing, not really recommending going over what's sort of customary for other cities, but having some assurance that you have priority and renewal over in a new business if you've been in good standing and haven't had any issues with the way you've operated in the city. This isn't really the permitting process itself. However, providing and updating the enforcement procedures to prevent unpermitted individuals from operating, and having procedures for how they're reporting for and how they're cited. And then I believe that in the RFQ, there should be some minimum acceptable rubric definition for each question. So it's very clear what's the minimum and how, what's above, what's below, so that it's clear for people to understand how they're going to be evaluated. And then consider allowing non-text content in the submissions. I know many of the operators wanted to add photos and descriptions of how they were running, how they operate, and didn't feel the current RFQ document gave them that flexibility. And I believe that is the end of the presentation. Yes. So.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Staff, do you have any other further things to add or questions for the ad hoc?
Like I said, the ad hoc committee spent a lot of time on this, met with a lot of different people. We appreciate the effort. I really do. That was a good report, pulled together a lot of information, and that's what we're here to do, to work together. On the staff side, we met with, reached out with the 9 surf group operators from this year. As we said the process would be, we would get through this year, which I would call a success. We would work with the groups to find the best locations and groups as much as we could and try to make that work. We're down to what we believe to be one more phone call with the state. And the hope is that we will have everybody in a happy site. And if not, we'll continue to have those conversations. And then next steps will be on our way to City Council. And my recommendation at this point would be for those 9 groups to continue to operate next year and to come up with a better process for going forward in the future. But once again, thank you. It was a fantastic job. Like I said, we met in the office. I know you met with other groups, a lot of questions. That was a fantastic process for the ad hoc group.
I've got one more question for staff about, I don't mean to obsess on class size, but when we consider class size, are we considering parking in the neighborhoods? Because this has to have some type of impact, I think obviously in the water for people recreating, but definitely to the neighbors that
100%. The conversation, think about in a small world, this has been going on since 2008, 2009, but also in that small world of parking spaces, no parking spaces, our beaches, it's not just the surf people that are going out to surf. It's very important that's our culture, that we have that opportunity. But we also have neighborhoods. So, going back to that last meeting and sending out the letter to everyone that lived 2 blocks from the beach, giving everybody that opportunity. Like I said, we definitely had some feedback that wasn't all positive, issues with having people going to lessons. But for the most part, I would say for as many people as we had out there, we had a pretty successful summer across the board. We are very happy with the 9 companies that provided services this year. They worked very hard to work with the neighborhood. It's tough. I mean, some of those places don't have parking areas. Some of those are very small parking areas. Some of that is going out in moonlight and then walking down the beach, both south and north. And so, like I said, to me, a successful summer. Looking forward to it's not keeping everybody happy, but finding an answer that works for everybody in this situation.
Great, thank you. Are there any other questions at this time? We can certainly have allow time after the speakers.
Vice Chair Evers, I have a question for staff. So, being that the ad hoc committee met and we also met with Councilman O'Hara last week, I believe it was, 2 weeks ago. What is the next process as far as compiling all this and presenting to City Council? Does it happen in October? Is there a deadline that you're looking for? And what do you need from us as a total commission to vote on a recommendation? How does that work?
So your recommendation tonight, if you give us a recommendation and vote to approve it, will be included in my report. So it's director filling out the report, sending it to City Council. That presentation, I'm hoping, will be the end of October, the 22nd. I believe that's October 22nd. Council agendas are very full, so trying to get in line. This, like I said, been a lot of effort, a lot of work, and the ad hoc report is a very good pulling of information too. So it's back to me to take what you share tonight, obviously the conversations from before and tonight, and move forward with a City Council report. And then at City Council, the public, the surf groups, and yourselves are welcome to come and share your thoughts on it. But like I said, I think we've everyone has really put a lot of effort, and we hope to take this to council and have a successful result.
Great,
So
thank
would
you. Yeah.
that be then that we would, if we vote tonight to say that this is the recommendation, then this gets incorporated into the report that you send to City Council?
Yeah, I can have it as an attachment, but it's where I quote from. So I'm taking a recommendation from the Park and Recreation Committee, and this is what we propose. This is also what is recommended by the Park and Recreation Commission.
Okay. So,
Let's hear from, I think we have some speakers, and then
That's fine.
if you guys have any other clarifying questions, and then we can make a decision moving forward. Mr. Fisher?
Yes, so we have 3 speakers, 2 of which have time donations. And so we'll start with Scott Campbell, who has 1 time donation. Yep.
This is the best part, making this thing go up and down. Okay, good evening, Commission. Glad you showed up. And I thank all the surf instructors that are in the crowd tonight. I kind of wonder why there's no surfers here. They might be across the street right now. I don't know. Thank you for staff. I had some meetings with you. And thank you for safety officer here, too. We're going to talk about it a little bit there. First off, in other parts of the world, surf schools dominate. They absolutely dominate the lineup. Like you go down to Cabo and they take over one of the better spots. And there's hundreds of, not hundreds, but they're all out there and they're pushing everybody to enter wave. They don't care. I can show you the scar here from earlier this summer of a private instructor with a little kid. What I'm going to say, gaffed me really pretty bad. Here, if that was the same rules, they would be holding classes at Cardiff and Swami's. I guarantee it. At the main breaks. I used to go to Pono. I still go there, and there was a school there, Surf and Fire. I don't know if they're even around anymore. Their beach was gone. They lost their beach. They couldn't go there anymore. And I would go there for my lunch hour for 1 hour, and sometimes I'd have to negotiate 50 yards of softboards. And this is with the tide kind of marginally high, and I'm stepping over the boards. And made peace with the instructors, and I figured out when I could go when they were not in their classes. And pretty much, if anytime the waves were over this big, it was much too strong for the little kids, and they pretty much were beached anyways. They weren't surfing; they were on the beach playing games. So I just want to these are things I want you to think about and consider, because your role here is to advise and make recommendations to the council, and you can make changes. Surfing is a scarce resource. Beach is a scarce resource. Waves are an extremely scarce resource. It's infinite demand for hardly any waves. And particularly if I go to Beacons, it's about length of ride. And if I catch a wave on a better day and I ride it all the way to the shore, it's not a pleasant experience to negotiate 20 beginners. It's not safe for anybody. The document talks about preserving character as one of the reasons for this, and that's fine. But I just want to remind this commission that our Encinitas community character is not for sale. Please don't sell us out. Are any community organizations here, or is Encinitas Board Riders, did they get involved in any of this? They were the biggest community organization I know. They have professional surfers. And reach out to them, please. I live in Encinitas District 1. My name's Scott Campbell. I'm going to introduce myself. I live farther than 2 blocks from the beach. A lot of people go to the beach that live farther than 2 blocks, including our neighbors in other cities. We've heard other people, we don't want traffic commuting through our streets. Well, you know what? They don't care. People in Carlsbad, San Marcos, Escondido, Temecula, they're coming to our beaches. And they're not going to be happy if they show up and there's a class. Think about this. Now, this has made perhaps more important that the instructors, they want guarantees. And I get that as a business. It's sketchy. You did not even know if you're going to be around. Can the city guarantee that these beaches will even exist next summer? I know you went on a little tour of parks today. I don't know if you went to the beaches. Orpheus Park was full of dogs. Right here, pickleballers were out in force, parked across the street. So parks are big. You just got to think about a lot of these things. There's a lot of demand. Now, the instructors say we go to the places where the waves are bad, and that's true. I would hate to have that southmost D Street access, particularly now. I mean, that's a long haul. How are you going to do that? Now, let's talk about safety. This is at Beacons Beach. Beacons Beach is an extremely narrow trail, extremely narrow. It's barely wide enough for one person, and there's people going up and down. The last time I went there was on a weekend, and there was people flocking down the beach with their shortboards. Now, some of these shorter women are maybe this tall. Guess where that puts the surfboard fin? It puts their surfboard fins at eye level. That's not safe for me. And you know what? How am I going to react to that? We have a little thing, advanced surfers, we call fins forward. And you can maybe look that up. And it's not fun, but you have to do this. It's an intimidation tactic to let somebody else know, hey, I'm coming through. And this is going to happen. Now, these instructors, these little kids, they can't carry these boards down the cliffs. There's unwritten rules in surfing. If you can't carry your equipment, it might be too much for you. If you can't paddle out by yourself, it might be too much out. Now, they're doing instructions, so they're going to handle that part. But realistically, these instructors are going to be having multiple boards up and down the cliff. They may not be able to see good. They may trip or stumble, and something's going to happen. Now, we got the $5 fee per person. I ask you to add a usage fee to cover cost, wear and tear of some of our stairs. D Street has been down for much longer than we anticipated. Grandview stairs are slated to be closed later on this fall. I don't know how much the surf schools are contributing this, but there is more than zero. And these are just things I want you to talk about and discuss, please. And once again, your job is to make recommendations to council. Nothing's binding. You're not making the final decisions here tonight. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jerry Cantor.
Glad you went up first on this. So my name's Jerry Cantor. I've had Leucadia Surf School since 2002. For 7 years, no city involvement. I lived at Trailer Rancho. I surfed out at Grandview. And when I started doing lessons, I had instructors that I surfed with. So when we started, we wouldn't even think of going out into the main peak. To have instruction in the main peaks, a lot of cities do that, is the worst thing you can do. If you have, you need to be able to paddle fast. You need to be able to know how to paddle, and you need to be able to predict where somebody is riding on a wave to be able to paddle and get out of their way. It's a safety issue. Every day in my lessons, I say, beginners, they'll see a crowd of people and they'll say, oh, there's the surfing area. No, the surfing area is where there's surf. And so I'm up at Moonlight and we have all this empty beach. And the beauty of being a beginner is you don't need this crowded spot. You can get an uncrowded spot. And in fact, it's not even, a beginner needs to know how to get balanced. They need to be in the water well and get a little bit of experience and wave knowledge out there. To take them onto the outside peak and push them in there, they're not learning anything. There's nothing that they can do afterwards. If you're going to teach them how to surf, like I said, we wouldn't even think of putting them into the main break. It's disrespectful to people in the water. It's inconsiderate. I mean, a guy, say he's got to go to his job as a waiter or his job at 3, so he goes, I'm going to go out and get an hour's worth of waves. He goes out, and it's nothing but lessons people out there. So he can't get any waves. It's like going fishing and not catching any fish. When a guy goes surfing, he wants to get as many waves as he can. So if it's not a good place for people to do lessons. And I'm not saying don't put a permit area where that people are surfing, but make it clear that this is not a permit to go out on the break. You go in between. I was looking at the map, and it's cross-hatched all the way through the main peaks. At Grandview, there's Main Peak and then Avos. I think there's a couple breaks in between. But you just have to make it a rule. If people are surfing there, don't go there, So I'll read this email. I sent it to Park and Recs before we had our Zoom meeting, okay? And I think it might be easier here. I'm almost done, though. I'm done. But anyway, keep them out of the breaks, and that cross-hatching on the maps are super good. You want to put cross-hatches where, the people are surfing, or just make it a rule. If people are surfing there, you're moving. Even at Moonlight, I have a little thing in my proposal that says surfer's rule. If someone's surfing there, we're moving. This is the traditional way, and surfers are supposed to learn in whitewater, and then you're supposed to teach them how to pick out a peak, And Swami's is a natural resource for Encinitas. It's one of the best points in California. You don't want any lessons out there, period. Around the sides, sure.
Thank you.
Or on a crappy day, or maybe pick up the scraps. Same with Grandview. Big issues out there.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cantor.
All right, and our final speaker is Matthew Allen, who has one time donation.
Thank you guys for everything, for all the help, for looking at all the stuff, all the work you guys have done with us to try to make stuff better for everyone. Matthew Allen, born and raised here. I don't know about districts and stuff like that. I run Maui Surf Academy for the last 15 years at Swami's, part of the Swami's Surfing Association. We've been here since 1964. Just so you guys know, I hold it down out there. We respect our place. And anyways, I'm just here. I spoke a bunch in regards to everyone. I'm here for myself a little more tonight. And I have a few notes on some of the stuff I heard. The RFQ process, we're making a great step towards where we need to be. But if you think about it, after a certain amount of time, it's kind of ridiculous. Like, how much can I say the same thing after 15 years? You're going to look at it and be like, oh, same stuff I'm seeing. Of course it doesn't look spicy. And then some new school comes in with all the bells and whistles. They're like, whoa, this is great. But they have no established track record. So after 15 years, 20 years, however long you've been here, like, why? Yes, okay, we're making some reform, we're making changes, but after a certain amount of time, I'll go back to the analogy I gave. You're not asking Don Hanson to prove why he's still a viable option. He's there, he's working. His surf school maintained itself, his surf shop maintained itself. If we're still here, we're still working 15, 20 years later, ask us at the end of the summer, how'd you guys do? You know how we did. Because we didn't give you any crazy, like, oh, we had an injury or some crazy complaint or something just outrageous. We just did business as usual. And we're still going and we're still trying. And we made it through the fledgling stage of a business, and we made it through COVID, and we made it through everything else, and we're still here, and then we still have to prove ourselves and write anything. I still think that's a bit ridiculous. No one else has to do that. No one shows up to work every year, every 2 years, and reapplies for their job. Maybe you guys do. I don't know about city. I don't know how it works. But in essence, like, normal businesses don't have to do that. And I'll go to that. Like, we don't have the opportunity. We can't even put into our businesses at a certain point. Like, I can't put in marketing. I can't put in money. I don't know where I'm going to be. Why am I going to get new stuff? And then I just got to limp along while they're telling me my numbers don't look that great. So 3 years, yeah, 5 years, yeah. But at some point, it's like, we've established it. We've held it down. I'm for, like, year round. We keep the same spot. We have the same business there. It keeps continuity. The locals know who to complain about, and they know who not to complain about. They know who's there. They know what we're doing and what we represent. I'm a teacher at heart. Like, I've been doing this 25 years. I'm born and raised here. I moved to Maui. I learned to do it there from Hawaiians that originated the sport. And I brought it back here with respect to where I'm from. And I just want to have some sort of safety and assurance that I can pass this down to my eldest who works there now, or to my youngest should she want to do it. I didn't mean to do this for effect, I promise. I didn't have a babysitter. Anyways, and then, you know, we're talking about the numbers, the arbitrary numbers. Oh, this is 12, because of why, because of what? But then, not to knock them, but junior guard's capacity is 150 kids. That's going to take up some space in the water, right? So 12 people or 20 people, like, it should be like 20 across the board. And then that's reasonable. And I don't need as much as I'm offered. And I offered to go down. Like, I work at Swami's, I'll take less. I'm trying to work with less people there. But to his point, regardless, they're coming. They're already here. They're coming from Arizona. They're coming from Inland Empire. They're coming here. They're already here. We might as well take them because Airbnb is not telling them how to do stuff. They're like, here's a board with your Airbnb rental. Go out there and play. They're in your way. At least some of us get to grab them and do something nice and teach them some etiquette, right? So I don't know, at the end of the day, like, I just want that assurance that I'm going to have something that I've spent all my time, effort, money, like, worked my butt off for, my friends have worked for. I'm speaking for everyone again. Like, everyone deserves to be here. Jerry's been here a long time. Scott, everyone here. Emily, like, we work really hard to just, and it's just so, there's a lot of arbitrary rules. And then for me, I'm going to speak on the boundaries. Because now that we're fighting for our business, we're fighting for this, all of a sudden the boundaries changed. All right, well, maybe we didn't notice the boundaries were there, but they didn't matter until right now for some reason. So now I'm up against a corporation. I'm up against the YMCA. How am I going to fight for the Swamis? They want the numbers. I would like less. So it would behoove us as a city to, Swamis wants less, right? Swamis wants less. I will take less and make it good and make it quality. I don't need numbers. I want to teach people the right way to surf. I want to teach them about that's Noonan's point. That's not Swami's. I want to teach them all these things that they don't know. And the YMCA just is babysitting 36 kids right there. You know what I mean? So, like, I'm just afraid. I don't want to lose my business. I don't want to lose my spot. That's part of our school's identity. It's part of what we are. Like, that's where I surf every swell, every big swell. If I'm not at Todos, I'm at Swami's. That's my spot. Keeping the lot in line, keeping people safe, keeping people having fun. My kids are there. Like, that's my home. So I would just implore the committee and the city to please, if we're going to go, the Y can go wherever. People are going to go, oh, you moved over there? Cool. My kid's got to be babysat from 7 a.m. to 5. Go over there. But if I move, it's all right. It's part of us. And you know, I'm in the club. That's what I represent when I go compete around the state. I would like to stay at Swami's. Am I into my allotted out of time altogether? That's 6 or 3?
That was the 6.
Sweet, thank you guys.
Thank you.
And that concludes public speakers.
Thank you. All right, I wanted to turn it over to the commissioners and see if you have any questions, comments, discussion pieces.
So, thanks to Bridget, Commissioner Kimball, for putting together the slide and kind of leading this ad hoc. I just wanted to clarify that, there's 3 of us on the ad hoc. We all contributed to the meetings when possible, and the information was shared. And this recommendation, I believe, I'm not going to speak for all of you, but I do believe we're in agreement as to the recommendations that are in this draft. But certainly, I think the commission should be open to if we need to add or take anything away from these recommendations if we wish. I wanted to point out, based on comments today and that I heard in the investigations we did as an ad hoc, my view is that I think the surf schools are incredibly important for our community. I think that they do provide a good basis for how to be a good steward of the ocean, the beaches, teach etiquette and respect. I couldn't imagine my own kids, being able to enjoy the surf had they not experienced surf schools and even the junior lifeguards. So I think both of these things are not mutually exclusive. I know the junior lifeguards does a different, classes in the summer, but they all have to use the beach and the waves. I think it's also, the permitting process is important to just make sure at a minimum, it's something that wasn't discussed as far as the RFQs. There is at least a minimum requirement that all of the surf schools have to meet, which is like a business license and these basic things that I don't think even require a rubric. It's like the bare minimum. And it sounds like that's never been an issue. And I guess I was confused back in June as to why this became an issue. But in this investigation, I wasn't under the impression that they were trying to take away people's livelihoods or these schools. It sounded more like what happened was there were some changes that had to be made with the locations that could be used. There's the bluff safety areas, is my understanding. It's why some things had to be moved, and marine safety and Parks and Rec had to make probably hard choices that it did affect these schools that have been working there for years. So I appreciate that everybody's concerned and input, and I think it has fully informed where our recommendation is as an ad hoc at least. I also want to say that the feedback from staff, from the community, for people who have contributed and responded to call outs of this is what we're considering, the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive about the surf schools. The only exception would be, as Commissioner Conrad pointed out, some parking issues on the north side. And that's something that I think the city should consider when reviewing permits moving forward. But otherwise, I just want to make sure, I'm not looking at this as something where the schools are causing problems. I think they're providing great service. So anyway, that's my spiel. I would recommend that we, as a commission, approve the ad hoc's recommendation, maybe making a couple of the edits that staff had suggested about the clarification that the code is not clear regarding weekend lessons, and that the Marine Safety and Parks and Rec are who is reviewing the RFQs and has made the decisions regarding the spaces. I think that was on page 3 of that draft. designates locations that can be used, that we add Parks and Rec as well as Marine Safety.
I would also just like to add that one of the things that was mentioned by some of the speakers was like people coming from other cities, other areas, other counties. People are going to continue to come, and from my perspective, the surf schools offer a valuable service in that the students learn how to live with the ocean, operate in the ocean, and it actually, with Encinitas becoming over the last 10 years such a very popular tourist destination, you get people that drop in for a few days, and usually people dropping in for a few days, you have a lot of potential for bad choices and uninformed choices in the water and safety issues. So having a way to have a stable surf lesson environment where people who are very well versed in the local, water geography, where's safe, where's not safe, how do you bring people in, I think is actually important for the city in managing the influx of tourism that we have. I mean, all of us have probably put our kids through the local surf schools, but I worry less about the kids who live here than people who are coming from out of town. And so having instructors and programs that understand the area, have a long relationship there, I think is better for everyone overall and will preserve the access to the ocean for everybody who wants to participate. So, so I think it's important that people who operate business successfully here have some assurance that they're going to be able to continue to operate. That kind of led some of the recommendation from us for that. I would agree with Commissioner Cappiello that with a couple of the changes that Parks and Rec staff recommended, I think we should approve the recommendations.
With that, I'd like to make a motion that,
Thank you, Commissioner Quinn. Can we just have 1 second, make sure everyone has an opportunity to jump in?
I'm sorry, I didn't see you. I can't see out of this side.
And I'd like to add something too, but I wanted to give everyone a chance to discuss. Thanks.
Thank you. So I just had a couple questions. I guess one for the ad hoc or staff. Did the YMCA daycare come up in your conversations or anything? Is that, yeah?
The one thing we learned is that they are the largest. They bus the kids in, and then they bus them out in the afternoon. So they're there for the morning.
Okay.
And that they've been probably the longest, I can't say 100%, but one of the longest outfits, I guess, to be providing classes.
Okay, and just another question for the ad hoc or staff. I don't recall in the last Parks and Rec meeting where we discussed it, but is there a big issue with the unpermitted groups and individuals in the summer? Is that kind of a big, or not as much, or we're just clarifying everything like right now and just setting it?
That didn't come up in the commission meeting. That came up in conversation with the surf school operators, and the feedback was that people do come and operate illegally, and there's not a clear process of who they're supposed to call to say, do you call the city, do you talk to the lifeguard, does anyone actually come and check and do anything? And so that came up in a private meeting with the surf school operators.
I've got one more. I'm going point by point through this recommendation, and I guess the only thing that I have a question on is the weekend lessons. I'm not sure. You said we're going to modify the municipal code, and what is the outcome that code is going to be modified to? Do we know that?
So part of this overall process and the push through the summer and the go back was the code is from before 2008 and no longer lines up with where beach lessons are taught. The code literally calls out specific locations. We're not in those locations because things change. So we know we need to correct the code, and it's part of the conversation. So conversation came up about weekends. Our permits allow weekend lessons during that Memorial Day to Labor Day, except for the holiday weekends. And so we just want to make sure that the code is written to reflect what is occurring.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, that was the only.
Is it anything else? Okay, any other comments, questions? All right, I did want to take a moment to thank the community for coming out. Some of you come out a couple meetings now, and we can't do what we do without your feedback and input. So really appreciate you taking the time to be here. Also really appreciate all the time the staff put into this, and really give us a clear idea of what we're looking at and what we're moving forward with. The one addition, I think clarifying the code, I think is a great thing. I'd love to move forward with the recommendation in clarifying the code too. And then also, I'd like to suggest that we have a piece in the RFQ, and maybe for this year, as they're just continuing, maybe the surf schools can provide this just in writing, but how they would help mitigate some of the parking, noise, safety, respect in the water, teaching kids to be respectful for surfers that are out there, things like that. I know that we're not asking the surf schools to solve the parking issue, right? That's not what we're asking. But just what are you doing as part of your business to direct traffic, asking parents, where they should drop off, and just to be respectful of the area? I think that was a big feedback we received from the community last meeting in some emails. So I just want to throw out there and see what you guys thought about that.
I think the RFQs do include a bunch of what you just said.
Oh.
But
Impact statement.
yeah, Commissioner Kimball might be able to speak more specifically. But the parking component, I'm off the top of my head, I'm not sure whether that actually addresses that specifically. And I don't have any problem adding that to future suggestions for RFQs.
I don't recall that parking was in there, but the other items that you spoke about, Commissioner Evers, recall there was language around that kind of topic in there.
Great, okay, thank you. All right, I don't have any further questions either. Thank you so much, the ad hoc. This is excellent. It was very helpful. So how would you all like to proceed?
So
Motion to approve the recommendation.
I'll
Or
second.
do you want that edit in there, Chairman?
I'm good if there's existing language. I'm not a member of the ad hoc, so I'd never saw the RFQ. So if it's in there and we're good, it addresses that, I'm good with moving forward. And do we need to specify clarifying the code in the recommendations, or is that's in there, right?
I think we've heard three things. In the recommendation talks about clarifying the code. There was a comment from staff about two items that the statement earlier in the deck in the overview wasn't quite correct. It said it implied the permit doesn't allow the weekends, but it was really the municipal code that did not, so we could correct that language. And then it's marine safety and PRCA staff that design the sites, not just marine safety, so we can clarify the language to make that correct. We can add, if the group would like, to add into the RFQ, future RFQ, in the section that talks about how they mitigate and manage being in the community, what they do about parking. I don't have any problem with adding that. I mean, that's pretty minor, but I don't know if anyone else has anything else they'd want to do.
I agree with that. I would, join to move to approve the recommendation with those changes.
Great, then do we have a motion? All right. Do we have an emotion with the amendment?
Okay.
Okay,
I withdraw my previous motion
okay.
so that the new motion can take place.
Are you following, Mr. Fisher? Where are we at?
So who made the motion on the amended?
I'll take responsibility.
All right, great, and can we get a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, the motion passes with Chair Ritter absent.
Great, all right. Now let's move on to 8B. This one. Do we pull the work plan up, or do we just drive through it on the, oh, there we go. Thank you. All right, so I guess we'll just jump through, and if you guys have any updates, I'm going to start with number 1.
Yes, a quick update. We have a meeting scheduled on this Thursday, the 18th, to do a tour of 3 of the parks that are going to have some improvements made in the playground equipment and exercise equipment on Thursday afternoon. And I believe it's already on the agenda. I already saw it on the publicly posted agendas.
What time do we know? So we can just at least get that out. 3.
3 o'clock, I think, is meetup at City Hall, but then the first location, I think, is 310. Manager Norgard, do you have?
3:10 or 3:15, I'd have to look at the agenda. That's correct.
There was some feedback from one of the speakers today about just making sure we were timely, and then we had some time at each park. Was there anything else we could do or should discuss on this item to make sure that public is aware of what we're doing that day?
Sure, it's a good question. We do have a bit of a busy day, but fortunately the parks support us, and we plan to meet at the entrance of each park. So if we know members of the public are there and show up, happy to wait, include you in any conversations. If you're late, I'm happy to recap all of that. You can always reach out to me for any other information. We do like when folks come. Last year we had a number of folks that joined us for the parks tour. I think it helps the commission to hear directly from members of the public. It helps staff as well, whether it's about items that we're talking about that day, such as playground equipment or other remediations needed in the parks. Those are things that we can pass along to the other departments if they're not us. So again, we'll meet generally at the entrances to the parks. We're going to try and stay on time. Some of the parks, for instance, Scott Valley Park, we're going to go there just to see that it was a recently replaced playground. I think most or all of the commissioners have been there. We don't need to spend a ton of time there. So if we're feeling compressed in the agenda, we may be able to make up a little bit of time there as well.
All right, great. Thank you. So Thursday, and look for the special agenda posted on the website. All right, goal number 2?
No movement on the holiday parade yet, but we'll get moving on that since it's September now.
Do we have a theme?
Christmas.
There we go. Okay. Goal number 3, I have no updates, so we can move on to number 4. Goal number 4?
No updates. We're still waiting for approval of the bylaws from the Senior Commission, I think it is, right? So, yeah, no update.
Great, thank you.
Can I ask a question on that? Why are you waiting for an update from the Senior Commission? Is that like template language that?
Yeah, so this started last year. We, the ad hoc, were putting work into writing bylaws, and then some of the other commissions that were doing it kind of got ahead of the process. So some of that that language that was going to be in there was going to get approved, hopefully, or get feedback so that we can then use that to finish ours.
Great, thank you.
Can I help with that, or just give a comment for that one?
Sure.
So commissions have worked really hard to get bylaws, and then we've had some massaging legally to what we're allowed to do, not allowed to do, and they have to be set to a certain thing. So the goal is to get all 4 commissions that are in Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Arts as one going through, and we're really close. Now it's just a matter of getting a council date. And so we've worked, and what we look at is I believe what we shared with the Senior Commission earlier was 11/19 is where we've asked for the hold. So looking forward to having that done.
Great, thank you. Moving on to goal number 5, Chair Ritters is absent today. Commissioners, any other updates? No? Okay. All right, and then moving on to goal 6. Chair Ritter again absent. Commissioner Van der Wara. Put you on the
I
spot.
think we're going to, no, that's okay. I think we're going to go have a look at Glen Park this week and go over that, so.
Great. And then goal number 7?
No updates, other than when we did our tour of the recreation, we did our rec tour. I was glad to see, the community center pickleball usage, for instance, seemed to be pretty popular, and it looks like they have a pretty good program running there and making some changes to what times of the day that they can do leagues and other things. So just a positive feedback, I guess, with how the community center is running their pickleball situation over there, as amongst other things that they got going, which are all great.
Great, thank you. And then goal number 8, nothing immediate to report. Our next one will be at the movie night in October. And then scroll down to 9. Commissioner Quinn, any update?
No real update for trails, except for the fact that now that summer vacations are over and so forth, I'd like to call a meeting for the ad hoc and then coincide with a meeting with the Trails Coalition for the fall.
Great. We'd love to hear some more trail presentations. That was a lot of fun a few months ago. Goal number 10, any update on that one?
Yeah, number 10, I was going to suggest that we add that to one of these park visits, but I was over by the site the other day, and it is really just a construction site right now, and there's nothing positive that would come out of that visit. So we'll keep an eye on that, and that seems to be it'll be like that for a while. So.
Yeah, Manager Norgard, anything on that one?
No progress to report right now.
Thank you. Goal 11, anything on that one?
I believe that one's coming up on a future agenda soon. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, planning to bring that back in the next couple months. Again, would like to invite all the folks that are interested in that, have a public meeting, hear from what folks want to hear out there. We can talk about operational use of the site and come up with some solutions.
Great. And then if you guys don't mind, can we skip 12, because I know we have a presentation, and let's just go through 13 and 14 real fast. So any updates on 13?
Yeah, we've passed out some the fall activity guides, and so anything else that Manager Hamer needs us to do, she'll let us know. Yeah, thanks.
Great, thank you. And then goal 14.
No update since the last meeting, so.
Great. Okay, well, let's get back to goal 12. And then I think Commissioner Kimball, did you guys have something you wanted to share, present?
Yeah, we have a deck. Do you want to do it this time, George, or you want me to do it?
If you, yeah, I'll give you a break unless you feel you need to.
No.
No.
This was a group effort, so I want everyone to, we all get the pleasure of presenting.
Yeah. So again, thanks for Commissioner Kimball for putting together these decks. Pretty heavy in this work item. So we've gone through the surf, now we've got the skate parks, and this has been something that's been on the radar from a year ago. And also direction from City Council to investigate skate parks in the community and whether or not we should be considering looking at whether we should put in more skate facilities, skateboarding, that is. So, yeah, page, this next deck. So as we did with the surf, the ad hoc met with staff. We've talked to community members, the people who have presented here in the past regarding the ECP POODS skate bowl and its usage. We visited the skate bowls. We've visited the other parks and spoke to one of the major events that goes on in the city, Exposure Skate event, and that's a women's skate competition that happens annually here. So with that, we go to the next deck. This is, again, a good starting place that just gives what already exists in the community. For all those that use all these facilities that are aware of it, we have POODS, which we've talked about. We've got the, next to that, the community park skateboarding, I don't know what you'd call it, the regular street sort of fun, different elements, not just a bowl. There's the Olympus Park, and there's Leucadia Oaks. And I think, without a doubt, the ECP facilities are the ones that are used the most. And I think you can go there pretty much any time of the day, and you'll see all of those facilities being used by many, many people. Leucadia Oaks is one that is kind of like used by the community, but not as popular. There's no parking. There's no restrooms there. And I think that's true also for Olympus. It could be, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. There's also the YMCA, just as far as what other facilities are out there, but that's not something run by the city. They have half bowls, half pipes, and other skate facilities there too. Exposure, we can go to the next deck. Kind of covered some of this. So yeah, we met with Parks and Rec. We discussed the facilities, the events. The commission, when we did the rec tour, we also visited the POODS and ECP skate facilities. We also met with Barry Blumenthal and Doug Marker and Dave Skinner, and I see a couple of you guys are here today. And we had a good meeting with them, and I know that their wish is to shoot for the moon and have something awesome at Moonlight Beach. And we met at Moonlight Beach and talked for about an hour about skating and the culture and Encinitas. I thought it was a pretty positive conversation. And then we went out and did more research and investigation. The exposure skate, I'll probably defer over here to Commissioner Kimball to talk about that specifically. Well, we can get back to that in a sec. Let me just finish this. I guess we already did. Yeah, would you want to speak about what you learned from exposure skate?
I can. We have a couple slides on that, so maybe we can just do that later on. But as you said, they're a largest women's skateboarding competition held annually for the last, I think they're on their 14th year now in Encinitas.
Okay, yeah, that's right. This is the larger deck than the surf one. So the next one. So yeah, this is just kind of tracking what the status of this great city has as far as a history of skateboarding, and the kind of exposure and popularity that it has. People come from all over the world to visit Encinitas, to skate here specifically. And the smaller parks, Olympus and Leucadia, seems like mostly beginner skaters are using that area. And there's definitely some opportunity to look at, some existing park areas that have skating to maybe improve upon. That's something that's been thrown out there. I don't want to say that the people we talk to are only considering like Moonlight, that's it, or go home. I think they're open to considering just having more skate facilities in the city. Yeah, There's, let's see. I don't want to read all this verbatim, but. And I think they presented at the city, they presented here before. Okay, so let's go to the next one, which is the analysis. So in our research, we looked at other communities in the area. 20% growth in enrollment in Encinitas City skate lessons. There's Coronado, Ocean Beach, Oceanside, San Juan Capistrano, Venice, Santa Barbara, Solana Beach, et cetera. San Francisco has added a lot of skate parks within their city that cleaned up areas that were, not doing so well, and it definitely improved the quality of life for everybody, not just the skaters. The newer one in San Juan Capistrano is pretty great, and I think that's the most recent one. Other cities are definitely putting some time and effort into building new skate facilities. It's definitely a growing popular sport. And where we're at right now is we have one high-quality skate bowl in Encinitas that gets used heavily. We had to redo the coping on the outside. And I'm told that even with that coping, it should have lasted longer than it did. That's how much impact of usage that Poods gets. Also considering the increase in population and new buildings going in the community, there's going to be definitely a need for more skate facilities. The noise and size, we looked at that. The impact of putting a skate bowl in is manageable. It seems like it's a low maintenance type of situation. We're not talking about a large square footage footprint. And yeah, it's an interesting point. There's only one skater that can go into a bowl at one time, but somehow you see tons of people there and they'll get along great and have a great time. So I don't think the noise is any worse than playgrounds or even beach volleyball, and certainly not pickleball. And then we have DBA noise level chart here. So I don't think that would be much of an impact if we were to add another skate bowl somewhere else in the community. The next slide. So the ad hoc, as we did with the surf, we've looked at everything here, and this is the recommendation that the ad hoc at least came to agreement with. That Encinitas should continue investing in activities and facilities that are in line with its brand as a skate capital, providing facilities and services for local residents and skate tourism. And our recommendation is to complete a study of possible locations to put at least one additional skate bowl in the city, including Moonlight Beach, Glen Park, ECP, or the L7 Park as potential sites. That parking and restroom facilities should be a consideration for accessibility to larger community than just the immediate neighborhood, and that we include review of agreement between the state and the city for Moonlight and Leucadia State Beach master plan as described in the 1996-98 agreements for addition of playground, and identify potential locations for skate bowl within the entire footprint of the managed area. Engage with state agencies as needed for initial vetting of locations, as well as collect data from cities that have successfully put skate parks in a coastal location and learn what strategies were successful. Just to clarify, when we were at Moonlight Beach and looking at it and discussing this, we were curious about when the last time they did development there and what the lease situation is between the state and the city. And we got the staff provided that information, the agreements, how often the lease gets renewed. So that was also part of our consideration here. And I think as far as the recommendation in regards to Moonlight, I know that sounds maybe crazy to some people, but I think it's worth asking the question. I think it's worth recommending to the city council to look at it. Because I don't think anything gets done unless you at least move forward with investigating it and having the city behind you and saying that, yeah, we want to look at this. And it'll ultimately be up to them, to the city council, that is, to decide what they want to do. But as far as the commission here, the ad hoc, I think, agrees that we should recommend that a new skate bowl be put in at a minimum. But why not shoot for the moon? And then there's another part here about the exposure skate and another recommendation. But if there's questions.
Yeah, Commissioner Capello, thank you. Can I suggest to the commission, or may I suggest that we conclude this piece and work on a recommendation or a decision point and then move to the next part of the presentation? Or how would you like to proceed?
That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Let's close it up, yeah.
Yeah, there's two. I know the deck was put in the packet. So yeah, there's two different recommendations.
Two different
here.
topics,
So if we're just
yeah.
talking about the skate bowl, I think that's appropriate to just discuss that.
Okay.
So one thing that I wanted to say about this, I'll be honest, when we started looking at the skate bowl and it was like, put it at Moonlight, initially I was actually skeptical. I was like, ooh, this is, doesn't necessarily, it seems like a lot. But after reviewing the location, the site, and the scope of how far, the agreement between how much of the space there is actually, and then looking at the noise studies from like Portland and LA County on how much actually is added by skate bowl, it's not as disruptive as I think people would think it was. And so I think it is worth it for us to consider that as one of the sites to look at. I know there are more challenges, but you can't get to the moon if you don't try. So that was our reasoning for our recommendation, that we put it on formal recommendation to do that, and the city council can decide what they want to do.
Great, thank you. Can I ask if the staff have anything to add on this topic?
I'll just share some of the process. Once again, good job by the ad hoc gathering this information. A lot of community support you saw in the last meeting. You see tonight. These gentlemen have worked very hard to push for the support of a skate bowl, specifically Moonlight, but in the community. And just to be clear, in the last year and a half, we've had lots of conversations, not only staff and skate supporters, but trying to reach out to the state. And I know that these gentlemen have also had conversations with the state, and I'm not trying to speak for you, but I think it was a reach out to Blakespeare's office, didn't get an answer that we went after. We had many conversations, both myself and David Norgard, with different state officials trying to come up with an answer. We've been told many times that this is not a location that they support. We've been given documentation of here's the plan for natural habitat, which is no change to existing, and kind of pointed out that way. I'd had a couple pushes to try to have a conversation, and fortunately I did. I had a conversation with California State Park Sector Superintendent, Lieutenant Sean Homer. Very nice person, was very forthcoming and easy to talk with. And what he shared was that the state would not make a decision, would not go through the process of saying yes or no without first getting a complete proposal with design and permit review, which engineering says runs somewhere between $200,000 and $400,000 before they would take action. So in doing that, that's not a yes, we will approve it. It was you need to spend this before we will approve it. And that's kind of where we've run into for Moonlight. Any more push with the state is great and appreciated. And direction from city council on that, another way to go, we would do as told or directed. So I just wanted to share that it hasn't been, lacking of conversation on the staff's part.
Great, thank you.
Thanks for bringing that up too. Yeah, I recall that was part of the conversation we had, the ad hoc committee had with staff. And I think that definitely is encompassed with where we got to our recommendation, meaning we understand no decision gets made until you get to a feasibility study. You don't get to a feasibility study until you get a vote to say, hey, we want to back putting in a skate bowl. And so rather than saying we don't want to look at this place and we only want to look at this place, we'd like to cast a wider net and provide the city at least the information and basis for that recommendation to look at all of these options. I wouldn't want to eliminate it just because that's there. In anything that gets done, I know needs a feasibility study, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's, it may not be feasible, but I think we need to elevate it up for a decision to be made whether or not we want to do that feasibility study. And, there are parks, Santa Barbara and Venice come to mind that there are parks, Venice is in the sand, and so there was some technique that did work. Maybe that things have changed, but a little more, it would be nice to have a little more information as to how it can or cannot be done. So we wanted to put the net to be quite wide, and then the funnel will pop out whatever comes out the bottom that, and we'll get what we get. But it feels too early to say no, don't, take these off the list.
Great, thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions, any discussion pieces, clarification on this topic? Yeah, no, there's no public comment on this one. Right, Mr. Fisher, okay. I had a couple of questions. Leucadia Oaks, was that one that was also looked at too?
Leucadia Oaks has an existing skate park. I don't think I have it listed as, I don't think we our recommendation was to complete a study of possible locations, but we want to include Moonlight Beach, Glen Park. It's not meant to be exclusive and exclude Leucadia Oaks. Leucadia Oaks or Olympus or Scott Valley could be locations. But they're not specifically excluded.
Okay. And then, if the commission's ready to move forward with a recommendation, can there be consideration given to expanding the study to include skateboarding as a whole, skating park needs? I know, the population's growing, there's an interest, it's part of the culture here. Should we also look at other facilities?
You mean versus a bowl, just a park?
Inclusive of a bowl, yeah,
right.
but also to include, additional facilities, maybe even other beginner facilities, adaptive facilities. I'm not really sure what the community full need is, but to assess that. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because it's not just a skate bowl, just a skate facility, or however you want to word that.
I would want to make sure that we don't, if it's worded in a way to add, also looking at other types of skate capabilities, that's fine, but I want the bowl to be primary, because this is the discussion that's been going on for over a year now, and I think we owe the community and staff a recommendation on that item. But we can look at other facilities, because I do think it's true. I think from the last meeting that we had in August, the facility in Leucadia Oaks is, compared to what we have at some other parks, is not great. So, maybe there are things there for, revamping the skate facility there. But, so we can add that, but I want to make sure that the skate bowl doesn't get lost in that, buried within that, and not be a primary part of the investigation, since that's where we spent all of our time. you increased the scope without telling us, Chris or Cormoran. No,
I
it's just
agree.
too hard to.
I agree with that. And I know there was discussion about Leucadia Oaks with the community that definitely can be improved. That's an area that I think, I mean, we could specifically call out to like look at how we can improve Leucadia Oaks as a skate park, in addition to, you know, exploring adding another skate bowl into the community. But I would have no problem moving to approve this recommendation and include another line recommendation to also explore adding another skate park within the community.
That works for me, for sure.
Any other discussion?
One question, so the other skate bowls, is there an associated skate park with those, or are these a standalone type of things, or?
I think that's to be determined.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I mean, if they put another bowl at ECP, there'll be other skate facilities, other parks. I don't think there's any space in Olympus for anything. And Glen Park currently doesn't have anything at all, so.
And I think it's also, there's a distinction in the types, people who prefer to go to skate bowls versus skate parks. We just are fortunate enough that ECP is big enough to have them right next to each other.
Right.
But at least as far as the reaching for the stars here on Moonlight is like, if you don't need to do a skate park, it's a smaller footprint if we were looking at a bowl, meaning that it's going to open more opportunities, even if it's not Moonlight, to just put a bowl in somewhere. People who'd use that will go there if there's a skate park, if we're looking at adding something like that, that does not need to be next to the skate bowl.
All right, thank you. And just to clarify procedurally, Director Knopp or Manager Norgard, if we were to make this recommendation, how would it kind of flesh out?
Since this is on the work plan, this will be included in the report that we take back to council, likely in May. If it needs to be elevated ahead of that time, we can do that as well.
So do you want to include anything in the recommendation?
So that makes sense. However, I think that it feels like, at least for the skate bowl, that given how long this has been kind of percolating in the community, waiting until May feels like a long time. That's 9 months away. I don't know how it would be something. Is there a way that it could be reported to City Council sooner so they can make a determination? They can choose if they want to make a determination or wait until May?
For other recommendations in the past that might have a budgetary impact, we have prepared memos from the commission that go up to council. So if the recommendation is to complete a feasibility study, there's likely a budget that will be associated with that. So I think council would want to know that before they get into the budget process. So the commission could prepare a memo that would then go to the council.
Okay.
You're saying the commission would go the next, if we wanted to elevate this sooner than May, we would go back to the drawing board, so to speak, to just do a more complete memorandum to then approve as a commission to send to City Council or to staff?
You can make a recommendation and approve that tonight, and then write a letter that summarizes your findings, similar to what you have in the deck, basically just in a memo form. You can send that to staff. We can help review it, make sure it's worded appropriately, and then we could send that up to the city manager's office.
Okay.
So then if we want to do a recommendation, we should probably include that step in there, that recommendation is to complete a memo outlining, right?
So then I would move to recommend, pass this recommendation off sooner than May, with the addition of adding language to also look at the feasibility of skate parks, not just a bowl, and to include turning this deck into a memorandum that can be passed to staff and elevated to city council. That's the motion.
Great. Do we have a
Second.
All right, thank you. All right, let's jump on to the second part of that presentation. Thank
Do
you.
you want me to talk to that?
All right, let's do it.
Schedules are tough to coordinate with everyone, so I was the only person on our committee who was able to talk with Exposure Skate. If there's a lot of words here, I'm not going to go through. I will not go through all of it, but at the high level, it's a nonprofit founded by Olympic skater Amelia Brodka, and it focuses on building skate skills, general emotional resilience and service for girls through skate. They've been running the world's biggest and longest women's skateboarding event in the world the last 14 years. It's held at ECP and originally started at YMCA, but moved after a couple of years. And so we get 3,000 to 4,000 people attending the event, get international visitors. It's family friendly, and it has a very wide reach. It's live streamed through X Games. They've had articles about them featured in Forbes and Reuters, and as part of their programs, they also raise money to support domestic violence victims, and about $300,000 to CRC to date. If you've heard of Olympian Bryce Wetstein, she has been part of Exposure Skate programming. The stuff on the right is more just pulled off their website that talks about what they are if you're not familiar with them. But been a good event, no real community complaints, and is well known. Next slide, please. We did have a chance. We had heard that they were having some challenges, so I did meet with Amelia and to talk about the event, and she shared that it's become financially difficult to operate the event. In earlier years, there was an MOU collaboration with the city for, I think, 3 years that ended in 2017. And it provided access to the event venue and, some in-kind services, splitting some costs with waste disposal. The sheriff sent some support, and ambulance services. So, basic, nuts and bolts to run the event. They also have been running skate clinics at ECP for 8 years for participants in the program, I think on Saturdays, that they moved to Vista in 2025 due to cost, and then they had challenges with dedicated access. They wanted dedicated access to the skate park and couldn't get that, which on Saturdays is admittedly tough. But they, and they're charged an hourly fee now on top of the one-time commercial permit fee. And so, it's become more challenging. She said that last year it was a last-minute donor that came in to close a, multiple thousands of dollars gap that they had, and have really had concerns that with the way that, without having some support in terms of, collaboration with the city, they are not certain if they're going to be able to continue running this event in Encinitas. And have had some, without having some support from the sheriff there, they feel a little uncomfortable because they have to call 911 for emergencies, and they would really like to have a little bit more visible official support, not just the private security that they hired. Next slide, please. And so our recommendation here is that their nonprofit mission is a strong positive for Encinitas brand. It's supporting girls and women in skate. It gets a lot of good publicity for the city as a skate capital, and also bringing in tourism. And they give back to the local community, and it's just broad visibility. And so, the recommendation is that Exposure Skate, from my perspective and our perspective, should be a priority partnership. there's a lot of goodwill that it brings. And we would like the city council to consider having the city meet more formally with Exposure to understand their current challenges, and then see if there's anything that they can do, the city can do, to be more of a partner to continue to operate the event in Encinitas. Whether that's through some kind of investment through an MOU or other vehicle to mitigate operational and financial challenges and co-branding opportunities, that I would leave up to the city to decide what level of support they would choose to do. But it doesn't seem like it's that big of a gap to fill, and we should really consider what would it look like if the event moved to Vista or San Juan Capistrano or somewhere else. It would be useful to investigate how we could support bringing the youth clinics back to ECP. I did speak with Director Knopp and Julie Gilliam last week about this, and shared the perspective of Exposure Skate, and I know they're in ongoing discussions with them, and so they may have heard the same things, but we wanted to put this out here to say that we think it should be elevated to, yes, this is something we need to decide, do we or do we not want to do. The next event is happening November 1st, so there'll be some ability to get a download from Exposure Skate after that to see how the event went. But it would seem like, as a shame, this is a good thing that we should consider leaning forward to help this organization be successful here. I believe that's the final slide. Thank you.
Thank you. Staff, do you have anything to add on this one before I turn over to the commission for discussion?
Okay. We've had multiple conversations. This is a fantastic event. It's supported through the community grant program. And I appreciate the conversation in that, in my opinion, the conversation was not for a waiving of a permit fee, which I believe is pretty well covered through the community grant program, but a much bigger financial support. And I'm, $25,000, $50,000, I believe is the thing. I don't know what they're asking, but this is when we had the conversation. I think that's what we were talking about. If we are, that's a different ask of the city and a different, commitment. I'm not saying yes or no. I'm just saying that, and you're making a recommendation. If that's the recommendation you're making, just, be honest and be fair with that. That's what you're asking for. Does that make sense? We've had a lot of conversations. I think I'm covering that.
Yeah, our recommendation is that it's, that the city should look at this and decide if they want to invest financially into the event. And so I'm, in terms of budgetary planning, that's something that, from what Manager Norgard said, this is something that probably City Council would have to say, is this something that we care about? And then direct staff to look at, what would it take to do this, and then make a decision based off of that. So our ask is that that process occurs, that we elevate it to the point where council can say, yes, we want to look at this, or no, we don't, so that the organization has clarity on what they can or cannot have from the city.
So can I share, I don't want to say a recommendation, but an idea based off the last conversation. One, the event's going to take place the first part of November. So is it worth waiting for that to take place? I think that was what was shared. And then if you don't want to wait till May to give that recommendation, once again, that's a recommendation, a letter of recommendation to the city council, which I'd imagine you'd want to do November, December, because we roll into budget at the first of the year. And if we're talking about a budget ask, that needs to be part of the budget process.
Okay, thank you. Maybe we can jump into some, just in the interest of time, jump into some discussion on this one.
I just have a question, though, of clarification. So if we were wanting the city to consider whether it was interested in allocating or exploring allocation of some budget toward this event, they would need to have that before them, well before January 1st. Or you're saying like December is too late, November is too late, or no?
No, I mean, after the first of the year, I mean, really get into February, we start planning for next year's budget. So if there's a big financial ask, that just needs to be part of that process. So giving a letter of recommendation lets council know what you believe.
Commissioner Kimball, what's the history background on this? Because I don't recall hearing about this group at other like commission meetings or items. So how did it get elevated and the
It
background on
was
this?
part of the overall, when this work item was added to the commission, we spoke with Commissioner O'Hara, since he originated it, and said what were the specific items that you were interested in with that. And so this event, along with other events that we haven't looked at or done any work on volleyball, was one of the things that came out and said, you know, I've heard some things, talk to them. So that was how we met up with her. And actually, the gentlemen that left that were from the skate bowl, when we met with them at Moonlight to discuss the skate bowl, they brought up exposure skate and talked highly about the event and talked about, you know, in general, we should be supporting it.
And then they have the event, but do they also offer clinics, just to
Yeah,
understand?
they have weekly clinics.
Okay.
For just teaching skills.
Teaching skills, okay.
So those are just, you know, local youth.
Commissioners, do you have any questions, discussion? Ms. Gilliam, are you able to provide some context on why the MOU was stopped, or?
2018? So there was an MOU in the beginning of this event, up until 2018. That was a smaller event, not as competitive, and it's become a very great competitive event featuring some of the best female skateboarders in the world. They come from all over, not just Southern California. And that has grown to a large event that's not a recreational event that the city does an MOU for, like youth baseball, youth softball, soccer. Now it's more of the hardcore event with the permit process that we go through and competition. They do get like a small funding as part of our community grant program, which was 54 organizations asked for money this year, or asked for support, and I believe they received $3,600. Yeah, and they've had more in the past. It's an an annual ask, but. And the city, back in the MOU, that we didn't fund to the financial point that we're discussing tonight.
Are there any other, like, nonprofits that put on events or clinics that have MOUs with the city?
Yes, but not to the financial that we're talking here. I mean, we have agreements for art, for banners, for EcoFest, in which the city is a partner. Dog Day is a great example. But it doesn't include a large financial contribution.
The event on November 1st, that's all established. Like, nothing needs to happen before November 1st, right? That's, the permit's already done, they're already, the event's.
The permit's under review right now.
Oh,
Yes, but they have to submit in March, the middle of March from the year prior. So we received this application a long time ago. And so we already have their application in the system for 2026's event,
oh, okay, but I'm talking about whatever,
for this year's
yeah,
event.
this year, that's already been. No. It's just the clinics.
Yeah, so this year's special event application is already in the works. It's being reviewed.
Gotcha. Okay. So is it worth I mean, now understanding now what we're working with here, is this something that we want to have the additional feedback of the event occurring on November 1st, allow commissioners, to look at this more, go to the event, or do we want to, move to recommend or put this recommendation up now? I guess that's my question to the commission.
So from understanding, your potential recommendation is to maybe continue the item, visit the event, get some additional community feedback, information.
Yeah, I'm not sure myself. Actually, that's why I wanted to just at least have a quick discussion about it. This is part of our work item. It sounds like everything's kind of already in motion for this next exposure event in November. Would it benefit us to look at this more, go to the event before we do any elevated recommendation versus just the work plan recommendations we do at May? That's the question I'm putting out there. I'm for the recommendation. It's about whether we do elevated or whether we just continue this until future meetings and after the November event.
I think that going to the event, all of us should go to it, or at least the ad hoc group should go to it. I'm not sure that going to the event would fundamentally change the recommendation. It would just add, more data, that yes, the event went as it has. So we could delay it, but I'm not sure that it would actually change anything. And I think from the perspective of getting an answer of, yes, the city is interested in contributing financially, or no, it's not, is probably better to have the discussion sooner rather than later. And then, regardless of what the decision is, exposure can plan accordingly. And so I would actually say we should continue the work item from the perspective that we should go to the event, but I don't see a reason to necessarily delay and write a memo that will take us a little while to write anyway, to say we would recommend that the city council consider this, and then they can decide what they want to do.
Can I pause for a procedural moment? Do you want to extend the meeting? We're hitting our time.
Yeah, motion to extend.
10 minutes?
That's fine. Second?
Oh, I think we need staff report too. Is that going to be enough time?
Oh.
I don't want to keep everyone here too late, right? All right. 10 minutes.
Okay. And then I'll take a manual vote, starting with Vice Chair Evers.
Yes. Yay.
Commissioner Capiello. Commissioner Kamarat.
Yay.
Commissioner Kimball.
Yay.
Commissioner Quinn.
Yay.
And Commissioner Van der Aura.
Yay.
The meeting is extended 10 minutes.
Thank you. All right. So just wanted to extend out to some other commissioners we haven't heard from. Any thoughts on continuing the item, moving forward recommendation, or
I'm looking at the wording here. It's not very committal too. I don't feel nervous about approving this tonight. I mean, it's just making a recommendation about priority partnerships. It's not committing any money or funds or activity. So, it seems okay to me.
I think the ad hoc, at minimum, should attend the event so we can firsthand see, because have you ever been to this event? You have, okay. That's good. Then we'll rely a lot on your knowledge then on that. But I'm sure Commissioner Capello has not been there. I haven't. The rest of the commissioners have not. And to make any kind of decisions blindly without ever having attended it, I think is irresponsible.
Commissioner Van der Aura? Sorry to put you on the spot. Just want to make sure everybody has a chance to be heard.
Okay, thanks. I think I would be in favor of approving the recommendation tonight.
Okay. All right. Thank you all. For myself, I think I'd like a little more time and information, but also defer to the commission as a whole on moving something forward. So, any further discussion?
I only have one more. If the entire commission goes, do we have to publicize that we're going to show up at the exposure for Brown Act reasons?
No, it's just like going to any other event, city-sponsored event that you're going to. You're going as a member of the public. You're not conducting official business there.
Just can't talk to each other. No, just kidding.
Well, I'd like to make a motion just based on your concerns, maybe table this till the November meeting and pick it up then. Is that October? Do we want to do it in October, or you want to just go to the event
Because of
first?
the event.
The event is in November, so
If there's a discomfort of approving this tonight, I don't want to be swim against upstream here.
I guess I don't know if there's any other community organizations or groups that would want to have an opportunity to speak. Are there other groups that, have clinics at the facilities? Should we make it an item to open up for that community feedback?
the city.
And maybe
is-
I'm just thinking too big, and it's
I
not.
think that the city has escape lessons and clinics. I don't know if there's anybody else that does, has a permit to do that.
Or if they've asked,
But
it-
Exposure has had it, so they just recently left, so.
I think we're discussing something that's on the work plan right now, and you're right now creating something that's completely new and different. So I think we should just keep the discussion to the work plan.
I second the motion.
Which motion?
Which motion?
Mr. Fisher, do you have?
So the motion is to table it until the November meeting.
All right, thank you to that ad hoc group working on that item. All right, let's jump to our item number 9, informational park operations. You got like 2 minutes.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Keep it real brief. We have our parks tour on Thursday. If you want to ride in a city vehicle, please email me tomorrow. D Street rehabilitation for the stairs is underway. We have a kickoff meeting on Thursday with the engineering department for the Grandview stairs. So a contract was awarded for that. We have a kickoff meeting with the contractor on Thursday. I'll probably get some schedule information at that time or shortly after, and I'll be able to report out more on that project soon. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Manager Hamer?
Manager Hamer here. I did share with each one of you the flyer about our listen and learn sessions. The age-friendly survey received 1,165 responses, so it was quite a robust response. We did go over a summary of the feedback. It was very positive about our parks and open spaces, and as well as our guide was listed as the top 3 methods where community gets information about resources. So I really encourage you, if you are able to attend one of these, they're free. There's 4 different ones. There's a RSVP. It's not required, but recommended. We're also looking for note takers and facilitators. So if you want to be part of the meeting where you're actually meeting with different tables and getting input, the goal of these meetings is to take the survey information and then go over the 5 areas: health and wellness, mobility, community engagement, outdoor spaces and buildings, and housing, and to further get more information and feedback. Like at the community center, we already have over 50 people registered. So it's a great opportunity to hear directly from people. And I know you're very stretched in all your different areas with skate and surf, but I have to share with you that our youth sports groups that share the fields are also feeling this crunch, and they will probably be coming here to the commission fairly soon to share with you that there is not enough fields, there are not enough lights, and they will be sharing the same angst. So that will be just around the corner. Upcoming events, we do have a movie in the park on October 25th. If you wanted to do a pop-up park, we are bike valets for the Oktoberfest. If you're interested in being a bike valet, that's September 28th. We also have our art night that's Saturday, October 4th. And please attend, or if you're interested in volunteering, we always have opportunities to help out. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hey, are the survey results at this website here?
The survey results will be reviewed at the Listen and Learn sessions
okay.
publicly, and then after it hits that step, they will be posted on there.
Great question. Thank you. All right. Item number 10. Any additional initiated items? Nope. All right. And then item number 11. Nope. Future. Nope. All right. And then moving on to number 12. Does anyone... We don't have to do a formal roundtable, but pop in if you have anything. We good? All right, cool. All right, thank you, Mr. Fisher. It is 7:36, and we are adjourning.
Vice Chair, you did a great job.
Oh.
Ross, who?